Moving on to our next subject, author's purpose is the reason why an author writes about a particular topic. Okay, we can identify these author's purposes by examining the language that is used. Some of those purposes you see here. We have to persuade, to inform, to entertain, to explain something, or to describe. So we're going to look at those more closely in a minute. The purpose can be stated explicitly, which means you see it directly on the page, or we may need to make an educated guess, which is also called an inference. So when we inference, we want to use those text clues that we see and our background knowledge to come up with an educated guess about what the author is trying to tell us. Okay, so here, starting with to persuade. The author tries to convince the reader to do something or to agree with him or her. You may see this in like a magazine or a newspaper article, even on the internet. So here we have a short paragraph that is going to show us how an author can persuade someone. Okay, so my grandma should win Orange County's best pie contest. Her pie is the best in the world. She makes it from scratch with fresh cherries. Everyone who gets a taste of Grandma's cherry pie agrees that there is nothing else on earth like it. She has entered this contest for the past 10 years but has never yet won. My grandma is most deserving of the award this year, and I know she would be most honored to win. So here we have this person is trying to persuade the audience that his or her grandmother's cherry pie is the best ever and that it deserves to win that award. The next author's purpose that we're going to talk about is to inform. This is when the author is trying to give you factual information. So let's take a look. The first pies made in the 12th century were quite different than pies we eat today. Those early pies appeared in England and were made mainly of crust with meat filling. In fact, the pies often contained fowl. The bird's legs were left intact to hang over the sides of the dish to be used as handles. Fruit pies are believed to have been created 400 years later in the 16th century. So this is giving us information about how pies were originally made and consumed. Doesn't sound quite appetizing, but to each his own. So it lets us know that later on, many years afterwards, is when we started eating pies with fruit in it. So this is giving us information and facts. The next author's purpose that we have is to entertain. They want to give you enjoyment as you read their writing. For example, Harry Potter. People read the whole Harry Potter series because they love it, they enjoy it. Julian and Jeff dropped off their backpack by the door. Like always, the twins were ready for a snack after their long day at school. They spotted the last piece of pumpkin pie at the same time. They made a mad dash for it, crashing into each other and the counter. Jeff snatched the glass dish up first, but didn't have a good grasp on it when Julia made a swipe for it. Splat! Julia, look what you did, Jeff cried. So here, it's just something funny and entertaining. You can picture what the author is trying to tell you or what you're reading in your head. The next author's purpose that we have is to explain. The author gives directions on how to do something or tells the steps in a process. Follow these steps to make a truly terrific tasting pie crust. First, chill the dough for at least an hour. After the dough has been chilled, roll it out flat with a rolling pin. Do not overhandle the dough. Transfer it to your pie dish. Press the dough gently against the dish. Trim the dough so that 1 inch is hanging over the side of the dish. Tuck this rim under itself to create a thick rim. Finally, bake the crust in a preheated oven, 425 degrees, for about 10 to 12 minutes. So it's giving us directions on how to create this, what they call truly terrific tasting pie crust. The next author's purpose is to describe. The author uses descriptive words often invoking the five senses, which means that you're going to use your taste, your smell, your sense of touch, hearing, and your sight to try and figure out what this author is trying to tell you, to understand what the author is writing, and to make a connection. Remember, we talked about making connections to what you have read. As soon as I opened the door and stepped into Aunt Mabel's house, the aroma of warm blueberries rushed forward to meet me. I followed the scent into the kitchen, where my gaze fell upon a blueberry pie with a beautiful, perfectly golden lattice crust. Aunt Mabel proudly handed me a slice of her divine creation. I sunk my teeth into the flaky crust and warm, soft blueberries. Ah, it was heaven in my mouth. So this author is describing how delicious and amazing this blueberry pie that his or her Aunt Mabel baked. So notice that they're getting in touch with our five senses. They're talking about how it smelled, how the aroma of warm blueberries rushed forward to greet me. We're using a sense of smell there. Or where my gaze fell upon a blueberry pie with a beautiful, perfectly golden lattice crust. Using your sense of sight. My teeth sunk into the flaky, warm, soft blueberries. Ah, it was heaven in my mouth, where we're using our sense of taste. So all of our descriptive sentences there really connect with us when we're reading them. And those are our 5 author's purposes.